July City A. At his computer desk, William skimmed over the confirmation email from the Space Research Institute. William, congratulations on passing our talent selection. Please report on August 1st, 2024, for your onboarding process. He picked up his phone and dialed his dad. Dad, I'm moving to the Space Research Institute next month. Let's call off the engagement with Anna. His dad sighed on the other end. William, I know you're strong-willed, but are you sure about this? Once you choose this path, there's no turning back. William replied firmly, Space is my dream. I won't regret it. His dad was silent for a while, then said in a serious tone, All right, your mom and I support you. Once you leave, I'll explain things to Anna's parents myself. The dead of night was silent. After hanging up, William glanced at the digital calendar. July 17th. He realized he'd have to be there a day early. 13 days to go until he leaves. He lay back down on the couch, covering his slightly red eyes with a soft pillow. The clock's second hand ticked away. He wasn't sure how long had passed when the sound of the keypad lock broke the stillness near the entryway. Why are the lights off? Anna's voice came from the darkness. A blinding light followed. William squinted and propped himself up. I was tired today. Fell asleep on the couch. There were a lot of people at the hospital today. I was super busy. If you're tired, don't wait up for me next time, Anna said while taking off her coat. Anna was the head of surgery at City's first hospital, usually too busy to stop. William was silent for a moment, then softly said, I saw your colleague's post. Looks like your department went out for dinner. Anna paused. There was a new colleague. I just stopped by to say hello, then had to rush off for a surgery. Don't overthink it. Her calm demeanor made William smile. Go take a shower. After Anna went into the bathroom, William brought up his phone screen again. It was a group photo of Anna's team from dinner. The short-haired, handsome guy in the middle was the center of attention, a promising surgeon back from studying abroad. That guy was Richard, Anna's first love from before she returned home. Anna stood next to him, making quite the picture-perfect duo. That wasn't the first time William saw Richard. About a month ago, he stumbled on a hidden folder on Anna's computer full of Richard's photos. The sudden ring of a phone call broke William's thoughts. He glanced at it. A video call from Anna's mom. He answered, and a posh-looking woman appeared, smiling. William, have you eaten? Is Anna home yet? Annie, she's back. She's in the shower. Anna's mom rarely got to see her daughter because she was so busy. William thought about Anna just entering the bathroom. He lightly knocked on the door. It wasn't shut tight and opened slightly. He saw Anna hastily hang up on her phone's screen, her smile still frozen on her face. William assumed Anna was chatting with Richard. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so flustered. Casually, William handed over the phone. Your mom's on video. Anna took the phone. Her smile faded. Mom, what is it? Can I call you just because? You're about to start a family but still don't know how to settle down. I wanted to remind you that the wedding is less than a few months away, and you should plan for photos and dress fitting. Anna paused and lowered her gaze to interrupt. Mom, there's still time, no rush. How can it not be a rush? William is such a good guy. Aren't you afraid he might slip away? Anna's mom was almost scolding her. The woman glanced at William quietly sitting next to her, chuckling. He won't. Anna's mom added, You're just taking advantage of William's feelings for you since childhood. Just remember our families go way back. Don't let William down. William felt a wave in his chest. He had given up the best aerospace college to stay at University A for Anna's sake, only to have Anna fly off to study abroad. He had planned on working in the renowned research institute in City B but stayed back in City A when Anna decided to return. Everyone was convinced that he was hopelessly in love with Anna. Even Anna thought so. Maybe nobody believed he would choose to leave one day. But after chasing for so long, he realized it was time to choose his own path. Once the call ended, Anna frowned and handed the phone back to William. Just deal with my mom's nagging next time. It's always the same stuff. William's upbringing prevented him from commenting on elders. He could only softly say, Auntie means well. Anna didn't seem to care. glanced at her phone, and suddenly said, "William, with all this work now, I was thinking, maybe we push the wedding to next year? I can explain things to the family." Anna rarely addressed him this directly, implying her mind was made up without discussing. William felt a sting inside, wondering if it was because of Richard. A week ago, at her best friend's birthday, William overheard some college pals while picking Anna up after overtime. She was willing to stay abroad for Richard back then. If not for her parents forcing her, she'd probably be there now. Now that Richard was back for Anna, it's no wonder that Anna was still drunk and thinking about him. At that moment, William finally understood. All these years, he was merely in someone else's shadow. Anna being with him was simply because she couldn't have the one she truly loved. She chose the guy her parents approved of. No wonder every time she faced her own parents, she was always so dismissive. Clearly, there was resentment left unresolved. William collected himself, pushing down the weight on his heart, and looked down, saying, "All right, I'm busy with work anyway. We'll see. When he leaves, he'll think of it as a surprising gift for her reunion with Richard." The next day, William got up early. He went downstairs to make a cup of milk and marked August 1st prominently on his electronic calendar. 12 days left for the countdown to leaving. He promised his mentor over the phone that he'd head straight to another experimental base once he got into the institute. Before that, he had to clear all his belongings from home. Halfway through his milk, Anna came out of the study. It was a rare day off for her, yet she dressed up nicely. Seeing William, she said kindly, "Something's come up at the hospital. I need to head out. Don't wait up for me to drink the soup." She often did long hours of surgery and her stomach wasn't great, so William would make her stomach-friendly soup weekly. William glanced at the half-thawed ingredients. His fingers trembled slightly. And seeing Anna's attire, with no seminar recently, what hospital work needed her to dress like this? Some things shouldn't be overanalyzed. William didn't call her out on it, just smiled. "All right, be safe." Anna seemed pleased with his easygoing attitude and reached over to ruffle his hair. "Don't worry. Didn't you say you wanted cake last time? I'll bring some back." She took a sip of his milk and casually added, "Next time I'm off, let's go shopping together." The door closed, and the room went silent. William didn't finish his drink and poured the remaining milk into the sink, then washed and set the ingredients in a pot. You need a good body for research. After loving someone for so long, it's time to love yourself. After setting the soup to cook, William found a box and started packing his things. In it were some old clothes and nearly new couples' mugs and towels. Anna had never used these, not once, though William bought them over a year ago. Why bother with such childish paired items? Anna had said back then, and William remembered it clearly. Busy for half a day, William placed items in the community box for poor mountain areas and took out the trash repeatedly. By the time everything was done, it was afternoon, and the soup was just right. He poured himself a bowl and started browsing today's social feeds. The newest posts included a college friend's engagement announcement with their long-term partner, to which he sent congrats. Another was Anna's close friend Lily's post of a sunset at the beach, caption "Cheers to tomorrow, cheers to the past." Under the beach's palm tree shadows, a familiar silhouette, Anna and Richard. Even with just their backs, William recognized Richard's wavy long hair. The location was a trendy restaurant renowned for its sunset views. It was a place William had begged Anna to visit, but she never did. He sipped the soup, unfazed. Anna came home late that night. William was asleep early, and they didn't see each other. The next evening, William's college mate Ken invited him to dinner. When William arrived at the famous Wandering Lake restaurant, it was 8. As a server led him to their room, he heard a familiar voice. "Richard's back from a hospital abroad, unaware of many things. Please take care of him. I'm here to help if needed." William's footsteps halted. Through an ajar door, he saw leaders and professors from the hospital. Anna was toasting with a smile, Richard beside her. Anna, usually disdainful of networking, had once advised William to just focus on his work despite difficult bosses. It turns out it wasn't that she didn't understand social nuances. She just didn't think William was worth the effort. Bitter pain spread from William's heart to his tongue. The server's puzzled voice brought him back. "Sir, are you all right?" William shook his head, red-eyed. "I'm fine." Inside the room, Ken exaggeratedly exclaimed when he saw him, "You finally decided to show up." "Huh?" William paused. After dating Anna, he rarely socialized with friends anymore. He gave up his career and social circle. He smiled apologetically, sorry about that. Ken quickly pulled him over. "What's with that?" "Just kidding. I know you're busy with your wedding later this year." At the word wedding, William was quiet before hoarsely saying, "Not happening." Ken froze, eyes wide. Why? Ken, having been friends for years, had seen William's dedication to Anna. Before William could respond, Ken's girlfriend burst in. Without considering William was there, she shouted, "Babe, I saw Anna with another guy just now, and it's not our William." "Is she cheating?" Cut off mid-sentence, she stopped abruptly, seeing William. William went pale for a moment, unprepared as hot-headed Ken stormed out. "Where are they?" Catching up, William saw Ken corner Anna and Richard in the corridor. Richard wore a white suit. Anna leaned intimately against him. Seeing Ken, Anna stood upright, just about to speak when Ken exploded. "Anna, I can't believe you're a cheater. Do you know how you've wronged William? And you," he turned to Richard, "do you even know she has a fiancé? You looked all proper. Are you that desperate for drama?" Hearing this and seeing Anna's suddenly dark expression, William knew she was angry. He quickly stepped forward, standing in front of Ken to cut him off. "Ken, that's enough." Suddenly, a strong smell of alcohol hit his nose. He paused and looked at Anna. "Have you had too much to drink?" Anna didn't answer. Her eyes were slightly cold, and her voice lost the softness it had when she left during the day. "William, you followed me." She gave Ken a quick glance and continued, "And you brought someone with you to catch me cheating?" Seeing Ken about to explode again, William held his hand down and shook his head slightly at her. He met Anna's gaze, his voice a bit husky. "No, it's a coincidence. We're also here for dinner." Beside them, the previously silent Richard suddenly asked, "Anna, is this your fiancé?" Anna didn't answer, yet Richard seemed to get it. With a knowing look, he extended his hand to William. "Nice to meet you, Anna's fiancé. I'm Richard." A simple name, delivered with such confidence, as if everyone around Anna should know who he is. William felt his arm was too heavy to move. He was engaged to Anna in name, but even in Richard's mouth, he wasn't worthy of a name. In just one encounter, William had lost miserably. Richard, seeing no response, added, "Anna had a bit too much to drink earlier and I was just helping her. Your friend here must have misunderstood." Ken crossed his arms and gave a sarcastic laugh. "Of course, a misunderstanding. I wouldn't be so inappropriate with someone committed." Regaining composure, Anna rubbed her forehead. "Richard, you should go. I'll handle this." With a resigned smile, Richard replied, "All right." After Richard left, Anna reached to hold William's hand. "I spoke too harshly just now. I'll explain everything when we're back home." William withdrew his hand, as if pulling a knife out of his own heart. He replied softly, "No need to explain. I didn't misunderstand. Ken and I haven't eaten yet. You should head back first. There's only 11 days until he leaves. No explanation matters anymore." As they walked back to their private room, Ken was still grumbling. "I don't get what you see in Anna." William glanced back, but Anna was already out of sight. The pain pierced his heart, and he smiled wryly. "Yeah, I don't understand my past self either. I've decided to break up with Anna. I'll be starting at the Research Institute next month. I came today to say goodbye. Sorry, you won't be my best man after all." Ken was stunned, but then surprised. He said, "William, are you serious? You finally came around. I didn't want to be that best man anyway. You were the top graduate in our field. You know the professors were bummed when you left. We have to celebrate this decision." By the time the dinner ended, it was nearly midnight. Ken, who couldn't handle his liquor, was leaning into his girlfriend, mumbling about hitting another party. She scolded him with a playful smile. "Babe, you have an early shift tomorrow. How about partying next time?" Watching them, love as strong as when they first started dating in college, William couldn't help but feel a little envious. He laughed. "You should take him home." Shaking her head, she replied, "No, we'll drop you off first. He'll throw a fit if he doesn't get to drop you home." Just then, a car pulled up in front of the restaurant. The back window rolled down, revealing Anna. "Done for the night? Get in, I've been waiting." Seeing her, William's smile faded, replaced by the dull ache alcohol had momentarily soothed. Even so, he got in after saying goodbye to Ken. Neither of them spoke, with silence hanging in the air, heavy with the smell of alcohol. When they got inside the house, Anna finally broke the silence. "William, Richard is a friend from my study abroad years. He just got back and joined our department, so I had dinner with him and some leaders." William closed his eyes, feeling a mess inside, his organs aching from the chaos within. Maybe it was the alcohol. He managed a bitter smile. "Friends? You could have just told me he was your first love." Anna's heart skipped a beat, brows furrowing. "Who told you that?" Before William could answer, she continued to herself, "We did have something back then, but it's long over now." Hearing that, William thought back on all the little signs from when Richard returned. Her drunken nights, her smiles at her phone, her efforts to clear a path for Richard with his connections. Looking up, his eyes were filled with a weary sadness. "Maybe it's me who hasn't moved on. Anna, I don't want to marry you anymore." Anna's expression changed dramatically. Her jaws clenched. "William, do you know what you're saying right now?" With the alcohol weighing on him, William's head throbbed with pain. He was tired of this slow, painful unraveling, pulling out the words from deep within. "I'm saying, we should break up." Stunned, Anna looked at him for a moment before averting her eyes from his unflinching gaze. "You're drunk." In the living room, a beep sounded. It was midnight. The digital calendar turned to the next day, making it 10 days until William's departure. William wanted to say something when Anna took a step back. "Go shower and rest. We'll talk when you're clear-headed, but I don't want to hear break up again." With the door closing, William let out a bitter laugh and sighed lightly. His throat dry, he opened the fridge for some water, only to see a box of cake sitting quietly inside. His hand hovered for a moment before he took out the cake. The date on the box was from the previous day, already expired. His heart ached inexplicably. Anna remembered to bring him the cake he liked but never remembered the little reminders for him. Maybe she did love him, but it was just that, only love. William raised his hand and tossed the cake into the trash at his feet. The next few days, Anna left early and came home late, and they didn't see each other. William didn't know if it was intentional, or if she thought, like their past fights, he would be the one to make amends. William wasn't too bothered, just going about his routine and planning his trip. That day, after visiting his college professor, he suddenly got a call from Anna's close friend, Lily. She sounded really urgent. "William, Anna's in the hospital. Patient's family attacked her." Even deciding to break up, after all these years together, William's mind went blank for a second hearing such news. On his way to the hospital, his research institute professor texted him, "William, only a week left. How's everything coming along on your end? Have you looked at the materials I asked you to?" William didn't know how bad Anna's injury was. He felt overwhelmed. His hands trembled as he tried to reply but couldn't type a single word for a while. Before he knew it, he was at the hospital. Following the location Lily sent him, he found Anna sitting by the hospital bed, with Richard beside her. She said, "It was meant for me. Why did you try to block it?" Anna's forearm was bandaged, but she seemed okay otherwise. Richard, on the other hand, was pale, looking really shocked, making it unclear who was actually hurt. She gently reassured him, "You're alone. If I hadn't protected you, could you have handled it?" The nurse, prepping an injection, called out, "Richard, please step aside. I need to give Anna a tetanus shot." Richard stepped out of the way, and that's when Anna noticed William standing there the whole time. "William, why are you here?" William's heart sank a little, but he casually said, "Lily called. Said there was a disturbance at the hospital and you got hurt. Is it your hand?" A surgeon's hands are crucial, and Anna seemed willing to jeopardize her career for Richard. Seeing William's calm demeanor, Anna felt uneasy. In the past, at the slightest sign of her being hurt, William would fuss like a cat on a hot tin roof. She wanted to say it was no big deal, but then she changed her mind and said, "Yeah, just a cut on my arm." Lily, who had just arrived, took a look and breathed a sigh of relief. "It's nothing serious." "Sorry, sis, I exaggerated because I didn't know what was happening while I was in the operating room." The nurse, finished with the injection, joked, "This cut will heal in a few days. It won't stop Anna from getting married to William by the end of the year." William often picked up Anna from work. Everyone at the city hospital knew him. Everyone liked him, thought he was a good guy, and enjoyed making jokes about their relationship. William watched as Richard wiped his tears, looking downcast. Abruptly, Anna chimed in, "Not at the end of the year. We changed the date. It's too busy then." William felt a pang in his chest and instinctively clenched his hand. Anna was always low-key, talking about postponing their wedding in front of others. Was she doing it to spare Richard's feelings? He forced a smile. "Yeah, my workplace has some changes around that time too. Not the best time for leave. Hospitals love gossip. He didn't want to cause a fuss." "Really? Well, just don't forget to invite us to your wedding then," the nurse said with a grin before leaving with her cart. Richard stood silently, looking lost until Anna spoke. "Richard, the medical department needs a statement on the incident. Can you handle that?" Due to the incident, Anna was forced to stop work for 2 days. Since her hand was hurt, William drove her home. Both were silent on the way. Every time Anna tried to speak, William cut her off. "I'm not a great driver. Don't distract me." Back home, Anna finally found an opening. "Today's incident wasn't because of Richard. I would have stepped in no matter who it was." "Yeah, I know. Go change your clothes." William acted like nothing happened. "Oh, you're hurt so you can't shower. Let me get a towel to clean you up." Anna felt relieved he didn't bring up the breakup again. "It's rare to have 2 days to rest. I can spend some time at home with you." William didn't respond, just concentrated on sorting Anna's medication. They were both busy when Anna's phone buzzed twice. She checked it and found a text from her mom. "Since you decided to move up the wedding date, remember to report early to the department and manage your schedule. Prepare well for the wedding." Anna texted back, "Okay, I know." She paused and added, "Mom, don't tell William yet. I want to surprise him. I still owe him a proposal ceremony." Ever since William brought up the breakup, she felt uneasy and didn't know where things went wrong. She couldn't sleep all night and the next day visited her parents, only telling them about moving up the wedding. Across from her, William finished sorting the meds and texted his professor, "Don't worry, everything's ready. I'll report on time." He had only 7 days left before his departure. After sending the text, he casually placed his phone on the table and took Anna's bloodstained jacket to the bathroom. As he puzzled over removing the bloodstains, he heard a sound behind him. He turned to find Anna standing in the doorway, holding his phone, face expressionless. "You got a call. They said your luggage at the Aerospace Research Center needs your signature." William froze, remembering the professor's reminder about alerting them for sensitive shipments. He took the call and apologized. "Sorry, I'll have someone pick it up right away." After hanging up, he called his professor. "Sir, the package is there. Please get it." Finished with that, he said nonchalantly, "My mentor moved. I was sending her things." Anna knew William and his mentor were close. Seeing him now, her expression softened. "So you're upset because she left? No worries, when I next go on a trip, I'll visit her with you." Brushing it off so easily, William couldn't feel happy about it. He cleared his throat and urged, "You're hurt. Go rest first. I'll call you when dinner's ready." Anna wrapped her uninjured arm around him, resting her head against his neck. "You're so good to me." William stiffened and forced a bitter smile. No matter how good he wasn't the person she had in her heart. Through the mirror, he saw his own eyes, red and unsightly. The next day, Anna stayed home to rest, and William didn't go out either. It seemed Anna finally took the time to look around the house. After a while, she asked curiously, "Doesn't the place feel a lot emptier?" William handed her the anti-inflammatory medicine. "I did some decluttering." Anna paused in mid-air with her hand. William acted like it was nothing. Let's buy some new things. I'm tired of the old stuff. Anna looked at him for a moment and gave a thoughtful smile. Entering a new life means a fresh beginning. William smiled back. But as soon as he turned around, the sadness in his eyes was profound, almost to the point of overflowing. That afternoon, Lily called William. "How's Anna doing?" William glanced at Anna sleeping on the couch. Sunlight streamed through the window, tracing her face with a divine glow. Felt like he was looking at the girl he once loved. His fingers trembled slightly. "A lot better." Lily added, "I'm sure she scared you yesterday. Since we're all finally resting, how about we meet for dinner? Consider it my apology." William wanted to decline. "No need." Lily was anxious. "Are you still mad at me? Don't be so cold." William glanced at the electronic calendar in the corner. 6 days left before he leaves. He sighed helplessly. "All right, send me the address." After the call, he woke Anna and told her about it. Naturally, Anna didn't mind. When they arrived at the restaurant, they realized Lily and 2 doctors who were close to Anna were there, along with Richard. William subtly furrowed his brow. He's not petty, but he's still a man. Sharing a table with his fiancée's first love, even if she's soon to be his ex-fiancée, made him uncomfortable. Lily smiled awkwardly, ran into Richard after work. He heard about our dinner and wanted to join. Anna chimed in, "That's just him, loves making friends. We'll be colleagues soon, so we should get along." William felt a wave of suffocating sensation but simply smiled, masking the sarcasm in his eyes. He said nothing. But what William didn't anticipate was Richard speaking up after a few drinks. "I want to apologize to William today. The misunderstanding last time. I'm sorry. Anna and I were a thing before you, but that's over now." Everyone was taken aback, not expecting him to bring it up. Richard didn't mind. He raised his glass. Though he claimed to toast William, his eyes were on Anna. "Seeing you happy makes me happy. Here's to you both." He finished his drink in one go. William knew the underlying challenge but calmly picked up food with his chopsticks. "I'm driving and will take Anna home, so I won't drink." Richard put down his glass with a smile, and whether on purpose or not, it slipped, shattering with a clatter on the floor. Alarmed, he tried to pick it up, cutting his finger, bright red blood beading immediately. Before anyone else reacted, Anna held his hand. "Let the staff clean up. Don't you know how important a surgeon's hands are?" Her face was stern, her tone blaming, but the concern was undeniable. Around the table, others looked between William and the content Richard, the mood suddenly tense. William glanced at Anna's injured arm. It was summer, yet a chill seeped through his body, making him inexplicably cold, while warmth welled up in his eyes. Suddenly, he chuckled softly, breaking the silence. "Enjoy your meal. I'm leaving." Anna, as if snapping out of a trance, got up and held him back. "William." William tried to pull his hand back, but Anna held it tightly. The pain seemed to seep into his bones. He finally gave in, looked into Anna's eyes, and said softly, "It hurts. He's human too. He feels pain." Seeing the redness in his eyes, Anna's heart trembled, and she reluctantly loosened her grip. Lily chimed in to ease the tension. "Richard can't handle his liquor. I think he's had too much already. Let's call it a night." The others agreed. Richard finally seemed to realize what happened and rubbed his temples. "Sorry, I can't hold my liquor and ruin the evening." The meal ended hastily. After everyone left, William and Anna walked to the car in silence. Just before they opened the door, Anna stopped him. "William, what I did earlier was just instinct as a doctor seeing someone hurt. I meant nothing else." William thought, besides him, weren't all the others doctors too? So why didn't they react out of instinct like Anna did? Maybe it's not a doctor's instinct, but the instinct of loving someone. He didn't want to expose it, looking off into the distance to change the subject. "We're almost out of anti-inflammatory meds at home. Can you wait here while I go buy some?" After buying the meds, as William came out and around the corner, he heard a familiar voice not too far away. Looking in that direction, he saw, under the streetlight, Richard, who had earlier complained about being dizzy, was already back. He was standing by the car, with Anna's tall figure partially obscuring him. "Anna, I'm sorry. Honestly, my biggest regret is not going back to your country with you. I know you still have feelings for me. His words were tinged with both regret and reluctance. The sky was getting darker, and William could only see Anna's profile. She seemed to say something, but he couldn't hear it clearly. He pressed his lips together and stood against the corner for a while. In this shadowy part, he could cry without restraint. Several people walked past. By the time William stepped out from the corner, Anna was the only one left. Why did it take so long? I was about to come looking for you, Anna asked. The store owner is old. Took him a while to find the meds. William got into the driver's seat and started the car. On the way home, Anna, who had been eager to explain earlier, was surprisingly quiet. William thought of Richard and smirked, feeling numb inside. After they got home, William went to shower. Anna's phone buzzed. When she answered, Lily's rapid-fire voice came through. Are you serious, girl? You asked me to find out William's preferences and stuff for preparing a proposal, and what the heck are you doing in the meantime? Richard's cut was so small it probably healed all by itself in the time it took you to panic. Don't drag me into this again. I can't even look William in the eye. If you manage to pull off this proposal, it'll be a miracle. Anna interrupted. I will succeed. Marrying me is what William has wanted since he was little. On the other end, Lily chuckled in disbelief. All right, good luck to you. Anna ignored her, glancing towards the bathroom. A week should be enough, right? I'll start getting ready tomorrow. The next day, Anna went back to work, and life got busier. Days passed by, seemingly unchanged. With one day left before leaving, William went home to have a meal with his parents. Mom, Dad, when I start at the Research Institute, I'll be heading to the experimental base in the Northwest with my mentor. I'll be out of touch for a bit, but don't worry. William's father nodded. Focus on what you want to do. I'll handle things here. The refunds for the gifts are ready. After eating, William lingered with his parents for a while before leaving. When he got back home, Anna was surprisingly sitting on the sofa. He was a bit surprised. Off early today? Anna nodded. Yeah, not busy. Oh, by the way, I have the afternoon off tomorrow. Are you free? William glanced at his electronic calendar. Tomorrow was his departure day. He hesitated for just a moment, then casually asked back. Why? What's up? Anna raised her head slightly. My mom's been urging me. We need to go try on wedding dresses. Afterwards, let's grab dinner together. I've booked a restaurant. William looked at her for a long moment, then smiled softly. Sure. Once he was in his room, his smile faded, leaving his eyes as empty as they were relieved. This joke, he thought, would be Anna's final, small punishment. Counting down to leaving, with 0 days and 6 hours left, William got up while Anna was making breakfast. Dressed in a white shirt, she stood in the open kitchen, looking quite picturesque. Seeing him, Anna smiled. Sit tight for a couple minutes, it'll be ready soon. Being an international student, Anna was actually quite skilled, but she was often busy, so William rarely tasted her cooking. William raised an eyebrow and sat down. What's with the enthusiasm today? Swapping the scalpel for the kitchen knife? As his departure neared, he found himself increasingly calm, even joking with Anna. Noticing his mood, Anna's smile grew warmer. She slid the breakfast she'd made towards him. It's rare to not be busy today. The wedding dress fitting is tiring, so consider this a treat. William took a bite and, feeling satisfied, squinted a bit, feeling the warmth spread through his stomach. While eating, he suddenly noticed Anna putting another breakfast into a box. In a hurry? He asked. Anna didn't catch his subtle implication and nodded. Yeah, there's a seminar this morning. Finishes at noon. I probably won't have time to pick you up. We'll meet straight at the wedding dress shop. Hearing the word wedding dress, William felt a sudden, sharp pain in his heart, followed by a faint sense of regret. Marrying Anna would forever be an unattainable childhood dream. Fortunately, his dream of space exploration was about to come true. With that in mind, he smiled calmly. Sounds good. After Anna left, William looked around. In this house, traces of him were getting fewer, but Anna didn't seem to notice. Once he swallowed the last bit of breakfast, the cleaning service he'd scheduled arrived. William watched as the cleaner erased the last evidence of his presence. While waiting, Ken called, "Your flight's at 1 p.m. Are you sure you don't want us to see you off, William?" William wasn't a fan of emotional goodbyes. Smiling at his friend's offer, he replied, "Wait till I come back better than before. Then pick me up." Ken laughed heartily. "All right, I'll be waiting for you, future space pioneer William." After hanging up, William accidentally opened his social media feed. He was about to exit when his hand paused. It was a photo posted by Anna's colleague from the seminar. In the middle, Richard was leaning in to whisper something to Anna. Their name tags were side by side on the table in front of them. William smirked, but his eyes remained cold. They were the ones truly meant to be together. He was just an outsider crashing their world. Thinking of the breakfast Anna took with her when she left, nausea rolled in his stomach. He rushed to the restroom and vomited everything he ate, his throat burning like it was on fire. Looking at the undigested peanut butter in the mess, William's eyes filled with a mist that settled in his heart, clouding it for good. He can't handle peanuts. They always make him throw up. But Anna, she never seems to remember. Outside, a cleaning staff called out, "William, it's all cleaned up." William took a moment, then went out to settle the bill. His mentor texted him that someone from the institute would be picking him up at the airport. The car he ordered showed up on the app as arrived. William grabbed his already packed suitcase and walked out the door, step by step. He didn't look back, walking towards his own path. On the plane, the flight attendant's voice was sweet. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to take off. Please turn off your phones." After sending one last message, William shut off his phone. At the seminar, Lily stretched her back, saying, "Finally over. Sitting here all morning feels more exhausting than surgery." Looking at the energetic Anna, she sighed. "Really? It's unfair. You're the one working overtime every day. So how's the proposal coming along?" Anna nodded, "Yep, everything's set." Lily admired. "You filled your schedule to the brim for William's surprise. I truly admire you. I take back what I said, you don't really need us for support, do you?" Hearing his name made Anna smile involuntarily. "No need. I've always felt proposing is just between the two of us." Anna said this while taking out her phone, but froze when she saw the pinned message. "William, for the rest of our lives, let's go our separate ways. Take care and don't disturb." Opposite her, Lily kept talking. "You've got a busy day ahead. I'll take your food container back. Clean it for you. You really cooked well today, thanks to William." Anna couldn't hear a thing, standing there dazed as if the message on her phone screen was frozen in time. Those few words felt like a sharp knife stabbing right into her heart. She seemed unable to grasp it, standing there stunned for a long time before dialing William's number with trembling hands. But the other side only played a mechanical message. "Sorry, the number you dialed is turned off." Lily noticed Anna suddenly went pale and leaned in, confused. "Anna, what's wrong? I need to go back." With a rush of heat to her head, Anna couldn't care about anything else. On the drive home, she tried messaging William only to find she was blocked. The wedding dress shop called midway. "Anna, your wedding dress from overseas is ready. When will you and your fiancé come to pick it up?" She couldn't remember what she said or how she hung up. Her mind was a mess, full of confusion. Why did William break up with her? Why? He had been smiling while talking to her that very morning. He had promised to go try wedding outfits with her. She had everything ready. William? Before opening the door, she still hoped it was just a joke. William loved her so much. How could he leave her? But the apartment was empty. The living room was spotless, like a newly furnished boutique. In the closet, not a single piece of William's clothing was left. Even the bed linens were changed. Cold air crept through the window to her back. It was summer but felt bone-chilling. William was gone, taking even the evidence of his existence with him. In the study, she found photo albums, yet no matter if they were group photos or singles, any picture that had William was now a blank space. She recalled William's unusual behavior this past month and the call from the Space Research Institute. So, it was never anything to do with his mentor. William had been lying to her. She'd been planning a future while William was planning his exit. Standing listlessly in the empty room, Anna's mother suddenly called her, speaking sharply, "Anna, what are you doing? Weren't you going to propose?" How could William want to call off the engagement? Call off the engagement? The scattered thoughts slowly came together, and Anna incredulously asked, "Mom, did William contact you? He wants to end the engagement?" On the other end, her mother was nearly breathless with anger. "I only found out because William's parents called. They even returned the engagement gifts. What did you do to William? Why? What had she done to make William abandon years of love and break up so decisively?" Her phone slipped from her hand as she collapsed to the floor. Whatever her mom said after that, she couldn't hear a word. A sudden urgent knock on the door brought her focus back. She quickly stood up and rushed to the door, pulling it open in one swift motion. Outside stood Lily, holding her bag, surprised by Anna's reaction. "Anna, seriously, what happened to you? You're in such a rush, and you look so pale." Finished speaking, she peeked inside. "Hey, where's William?" With her last hope shattered, Anna nearly lost her footing. She closed her eyes, mustering all her strength to say 3 words, "He's gone." William didn't want her anymore. From the plane landing to the institute people coming to pick him up, William was making good progress on his journey. As soon as he got on the bus, he leaned back in his seat and turned on his phone. He finally got a signal and messages flooded in. Among them, dozens of missed calls stood out. Some were from Anna, and others from different people. He ignored them and just sent a quick message to his parents, letting them know he was safe. Putting down his phone, he looked out at the passing buildings. The towering skyscrapers around him felt even more oppressive. It took more than an hour to get from the airport to the research institute. After getting out of the car and passing through a series of checks at the entrance, he finally entered the institute he'd always dreamed of. "William, must have been a long journey. Have you eaten yet?" At the entrance, his mentor greeted him with a smile. William hadn't expected her to pick him up personally, so he hurried forward to greet her. "Professor, I thought you were at the base?" His professor, MS, and was a woman in her 50s or 60s. She'd been in aerospace research for over 30 years and was well respected in the industry. William had worked hard to become the top student in his field during school, just to have the chance to learn from her. With a kind smile, she said, "Well, I had some data to work on at the institute, so I thought I'd wait for you, and we can head to the base together. Look at you, even though you haven't continued with aerospace, how have you gotten thinner?" It wouldn't be true to say he hadn't changed since graduation. Plus, he'd been dragging things out with Anna for years, losing much of his old enthusiasm. He thanked her for her concern and asked about the urgent matter. "Professor, when do we head to the experimental base?" She chuckled and thought to herself how little William had changed, always eager to dive into research. Normally, new guys like William wouldn't be suited to go to the experimental base. But his passion for aerospace and ability to endure hardships made him special. He was the smartest student she had over several years, which is why she decided to introduce William to the base. William not working in aerospace would be a waste of talent. "Tomorrow," she answered. "In our line of work, every second counts." As they walked through the institute, she said, "But first you need rest. Let me show you to your dorm." After unpacking, his professor took him to the cafeteria for dinner and introduced him to a few bigwigs at the institute. By the time night fell, William returned to his dorm, his body weary from the day's activities. After a shower, he called his parents. The experimental base was typically located in remote areas with poor signal coverage to ensure precision in measurements and testing conditions. Even if there was a signal tower, it wouldn't help much. "William, are you settling in all right over there?" His mom's voice came through the screen, pushing past his dad who was trying to see too. "I'm good here," William said. "We'll be heading to the base tomorrow. Just wanted to let you know there won't be much signal there, so don't worry if you can't reach me." His dad, a retired military man, took over the conversation. "Don't worry, we get it. Just call when you can." His heart warmed. His parents always supported every decision he made, from choosing to study aerospace to staying on post-graduation. Though he had disappointed many with his focus on Anna, it wasn't too late. All he could do now was stick to his original aspirations and contribute to the nation's cause. Before dawn, William and his group boarded the train to the base. Alongside a professor and a few researchers, they brought new equipment. Due to confidentiality protocols, the base restricted outgoing communications. They switched to a bus en route, and his professor explained more about the base. They were all familiar with the long bumpy ride. Setting off early, it was evening when they finally arrived. The base was on a vast stretch of desert, surrounded by mountains and dust storms. A wrong step could easily get one lost. William hadn't traveled such distances since graduation. The bus ride left him feeling queasy, and when he stepped on solid ground, he had to find a corner to throw up. "You okay? Here, drink some water." A water bottle was handed to him. He looked up to see a researcher who had come to meet them. "Thanks," William said, accepting the gesture. In a place so out of the way, helping each other out was just common sense. A while later, his professor arrived, handing him a piece of ginger. "This will help. Oh, by the way, let me introduce you to Helen, your senior in the same program." Helen was the researcher who had given him the water, which explained why they seemed about the same age. William extended his hand to Helen. "Hi, I'm William." It was a simple introduction. The dorms were better than he expected, with all the basic facilities intact. William recalled during his PhD days when they'd gone to remote sites for aerospace planning. Those places were much rougher. Helen, leading him through the base, said, "Things have definitely improved since we first got here, though the medical support still needs work until next month." Their group was like the advanced team, having already dealt with any issues. With so much on her plate, his professor usually paired him with Helen. They couldn't waste time on research progress. After half a day getting familiar with things, William dove straight into the lab. In a lab setting, William was far more comfortable than at the base. Thanks to his intensive focus on aerospace applications in the past few months, he was able to work well with the team on tests and collaborations. Helen sometimes exclaimed, "No wonder the teacher says you're a genius. You caught up with us so quickly even though you haven't done any experimental research for years." "Oh, not really. You're the one with real insights in research, senior sister." These weren't just compliments, they were half true, half not. After all, to be in the same field, Helen was also top of her class. Every day they left early and returned late, and time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. The September sun on the Gobi Desert felt like a furnace, but there was less sandstorm. This weather mainly tortured research folks like them, but it was helpful for experiment progress, like when dealing with external chemical coatings and fuel usage. One day, several staff members at the base suffered severe heat stroke and had to be taken to a hospital stationed outside the base for treatment. The teacher was particularly concerned about William, worried that being cooped up in the base for too long would be tough for him. So, she arranged for William to go with the team. But once at the hospital, William ended up helping everyone, moving from car to take care of people, barely getting any downtime. In the afternoon, the deputy director of the hospital organized for them to have a meal at the cafeteria. Just as William sat down with his meal, a tall shadow fell next to him. A familiar voice sounded overhead. "William." The hand holding his chopsticks paused. It was Anna. William found it kind of surreal to run into an old friend, let alone two, in this place. Not far away, Lily was poking her head out from a queue of medical staff getting food. "William?" William was really glad at that moment that the two guys from his group were too exhausted to join for the meal. Otherwise, he'd have to explain this awkward situation. He and Anna just stared at each other, neither saying a word. As more people gathered to eat, William decided he didn't want the attention, so he picked up his tray to leave. But suddenly a force pulled him back down. Anna was next to him, looking at him intently. "Why are you here?" She broke the silence first. How could they just happen to meet at such a far-off place? "Looking for you." Her deep eyes reflected emotions William couldn't quite grasp. It had only been a month, but Anna had changed a bit, though William couldn't put his finger on what exactly. Finally, Lily carried over 2 trays of food, quickly cutting in when she saw William wasn't in a good mood. This hospital has fewer medical resources for the border, so they borrowed us for 2 months. We just arrived last week. Coincidentally, did they station around the only hospital near his research base? And Anna, being a chief, wouldn't typically be reassigned here on loan, right? That story could only fool a kid. William chuckled and asked Anna directly, "How did you find out I was here?" Other than his mentor at the research institute, nobody else knew he was there. She must have found him herself, not by asking anyone. Anna swallowed hard. She couldn't lie to William. "Since I couldn't reach you no matter what, I guessed you went to your mentor's place, as you mentioned before on the phone." That was from when Anna had picked up his call. "But I'm not at the research institute. How did you find this place? You couldn't have just guessed." "Of course not." She confirmed William's guess. "Your social media didn't show you there. When I found this place, coincidentally, this hospital applied for loan staff from ours, so I took a chance." What she said made sense. Plus, she even thought to check his social media location. William secretly thought she might be better suited for detective work. But Anna wouldn't have come all this way, to even apply for a hospital transfer, just to find him without another reason. William cleared his thoughts and said seriously, "Anna, we've broken up. I returned the engagement gifts too. We parted well, no need to keep entangling." Upon hearing that, Anna's gaze dimmed. "I don't agree with breaking up. William, if I did something wrong, you can talk to me about it. Why do we have to break up, and why did you have to escape out here?" When William left, she couldn't contact him, so she sat in the house through the night trying every method to trace him. Once she found out, she sprang into action, transferred herself here, and everyone called her crazy for it. Internally, William found it amusing. He wasn't some clinging vine. He had the freedom to go wherever he pleased without relying on Anna. "Anna, love for someone can only be a singular emotion, not shared with others. We have nothing more to discuss. Also, I came here not because of you, but because I can fulfill my dreams here. If you still care for what we had, don't disturb me." With that, he stood up with his tray and walked away. The whole ordeal drained his appetite. Anna didn't chase after him. She just quietly watched William's back as he left. Lily, thoughtfully, pushed her food toward Anna and suddenly said, "Anna, do you like Richard?" The question hung in the air, freezing time for a few seconds. Anna withdrew her gaze from William and looked at Lily, puzzled. "Why would you ask that?" Lily sighed, stirring her rice while carefully choosing her words. "Maybe you didn't notice, but without William around, anyone uninformed would think you and Richard were a couple. Every time you're together, even I would think so. And last time when Richard got hurt during a meal, your actions were... Are you implying that I'm two-timing?" Anna clearly didn't appreciate the accusation. "That's not what I meant. I just think you might be too friendly with Dr. Richard." Lily shook her head, trying to be tactful as a sister. "Isn't it normal to look out for him as a colleague? Besides, Richard and I were college classmates." Anna frowned, genuinely perplexed. She had never thought her interactions with Richard crossed any line. "But Richard was your first love. Can you honestly say there's no lingering feelings at all?" Lily had known Anna for years. She understood things others might not notice. I'm afraid Anna herself hasn't realized just how biased she is towards Richard. If it weren't for her helping Anna cover up in the department, would there really be no rumors, given how fast gossip spreads in the hospital? She patted Anna on the shoulder and said sincerely, like William said, "A person can only love one person. When you're good to Richard, have you ever thought about keeping your distance because you have a fiancé? In today's terms, you're acting like a central heater. Does she like Richard, or does she truly love William?" Anna seriously pondered over the answer to this question. She and Richard met in a Chinese elective class. He had good grades and was lively. In a foreign country at the time, they got familiar quickly. Initially, Anna didn't think much of Richard. They just attended classes together, had meals together, and went to a nearby hospital to take care of patients together. Gradually, Anna got used to his presence, so when Richard confessed, she thought, this is not bad. After graduation, she wanted to return to her country and contribute what she'd learned to the advancement of domestic medicine. However, Richard believed the foreign healthcare system was more complete, insisting on pursuing his career abroad. Richard wanted Anna to give in to him, but she chose to return. Everyone said her parents forced her back, but in truth, they didn't. She had no idea how such a ridiculous rumor spread. From classmates abroad to friends at home, the rumor traveled. She even suspected Richard but didn't feel comfortable saying anything. As for William, from the moment she saw him after returning home, she felt a comforting sense of belonging. Ever since she was a child, William never disagreed with her. If she wanted to go abroad, William supported her. If she wanted to stay, William was supportive too. They understood each other and always had endless topics to talk about. Under the nudging of both families, they got together quickly. Back in high school, when she injured her leg, William helped her turn and clean up under Anna's mom's guidance. That was when the differences between boys and girls became apparent, but only William was too naive to notice the pink tint on Anna's earlobes. Perhaps she felt differently about Richard, probably guilty because she was the one who proposed the breakup. But when it came to marriage, William was the only person she felt right about. Anna's deep thoughtfulness didn't go unnoticed by Lily, who finished her last bite of food, wiped her mouth and said, "Give it a real good think, and when you've made up your mind, only then talk to William. What comes next is out of her hands." William bought some dried fruits nearby the hospital and went back. One of the temporary medical team members stayed behind for monitoring, so they didn't need to stay and take care. Maybe William's advice worked. Until it was time to board, Anna didn't show up again. Anyway, if he's not sick, he wouldn't see Anna much. So he just let it go. A week passed quickly. "Morning, Senior," said Helen, bumping into William, who had dark circles under his eyes, as she headed to the lab. "Good morning. Did you sleep in the lab again? It's not a crucial time yet. No need to push yourself," Helen said with a smile. William had been particularly motivated lately, practically living in the lab. Unlike William, she didn't have that kind of drive. "It's nothing. Still young, William winked, trying to sound cheerful. Ever since coming back from the hospital, he'd been restless and needed to bury himself in work to stop overthinking. Helen chuckled and playfully patted William on the shoulder. "You've got a long journey ahead." But as she did, William winced. "What's wrong?" She hastily withdrew her hand, checking on him. William rubbed his sore neck. "Nothing. Just slept wrong on the table last night. I told you, don't push so hard. Finish today's experiment and have a proper rest." "Better rested, you get twice the result with half the effort," Helen said solemnly, knowing nobody should work non-stop like that. "When the medical team arrives, let them take a look. You probably pulled something." "The medical team's coming today?" William asked, puzzled. "Yup, probably around lunchtime. We don't get out much here, so having the team handle minor ailments won't delay the experiments," Helen explained, laughing when they realized their concern was all about research. Helen was accurate in her estimation. The medical team arrived right around lunch. "Why didn't anyone tell me we'd have to meet the medical team? Haven't even had lunch yet. No idea how much time this'll eat up in the afternoon," she complained, wiping sweat from her forehead under the blazing sun, looking at William beside her. Everyone in the base juggled multiple roles, helping wherever they could, and their experiment group often welcomed new arrivals. A weathered medical van approached, kicking up dust as it stopped. Out came a bunch of people dressed in white coats. William walked over, ready to help them with their luggage. "Thanks for your hard work. I'm Helen from Aerospace Experiment Group 3. I'll be getting you acquainted with everything today," Helen announced. "Take us to the medical setup first so we can store the medications," a member of the medical team suggested. So after they spoke, that person turned back and nodded at William. Turns out it was Lily. Then someone else stepped off the vehicle, making the guys in the group gasp. William didn't need to look to know who it was. Anna was handsome and elegant, always stood out in a crowd. This was only their second meeting here. Anna looked completely different today, much more energetic than last time. She couldn't believe the medical team brought Anna and them here. "We need someone meticulous to help tidy up some supplies. Maybe that guy can come along with us today?" Even though she stood far from the crowd, Anna still found William without a doubt. "Oh, you're talking about William, right? Sure, he can come along. We're all in this together. In front of the ambulance, Helen followed Anna's gaze and spotted William behind her. Although she didn't understand why the medical leader singled William out, she responded politely. William was too far from Helen to stop him from speaking. Everyone's eyes landed on him, and he could only shrug and say, "Let's put the stuff away first. We'll eat later." He helped move a couple of boxes and casually avoided being close to Anna. Anna didn't miss a thing about his actions. The box in his hands was practically weightless, probably filled with masks or something. Since there were people around, he couldn't say much. He just nodded and headed to the medical area. Along the way, whether William sped up or slowed down, Anna kept the same pace right behind him. While William was figuring out how to keep some distance from her, Lily approached him. "I didn't know you became an aerospace researcher. You were overqualified staying in City A." The group was scattered, and no one noticed the conversation. "Anna and I broke up. You should call me something else." William didn't want to drag past relationship drama into his current life. Walking straight and sounding slightly irritated, William said, "You two in this small place, overqualified for sure. The life here is tough. You should leave while you can. What's Anna doing in a medical team?" William was clueless about her intentions, but he had already ended things with her and didn't want any entanglements. He wasn't too patient with Lily anymore either. After putting the stuff down at the medical area, everyone gradually headed to the cafeteria. With Anna nearby, William walked slowly on purpose. Helen was waiting at the entrance, took what William was holding. "There's still an experiment this afternoon. Head to the cafeteria first. I'll help the other doctors." She glanced at Anna behind, sensing her gaze was glued to William. "Okay, I'll go get us food." William thanked her, eager for anyone to just take Anna away. "Here, you take it." Seeing William leave the things at the door, Anna handed the heavy boxes to Lily. Ignoring her friend calling from behind, she ran straight toward William. William quickened his pace a bit, sensing what was happening behind him. "William, William." Anna grabbed him right before he turned into the cafeteria. "Why are you avoiding me?" "Anna, it's the other way around. Why are you chasing after me?" The last time in the hospital, he made it clear they had nothing to discuss. Careful not to cause a scene, he tried to pull away, but Anna held on tight. They stood there just staring at each other. Anna was almost startled by William's cold words. She came to explain, not expecting such a reaction. "William, I was wrong. I never had anything with Richard." Lily's words made her realize how she felt. She couldn't live without William. "That day, I planned to propose, but you never showed up." When Anna mentioned changing the date, she meant moving up the wedding. William hesitated for a moment, and Anna caught onto it. "I love you." That's why Anna had chased William all the way here. She had everything ready at the start, desperate to bring William back home, working non-stop till he was asleep. The day William left, he flipped through the photo album. If he had just opened the drawer below, he'd have seen the ring meant for him. "But Anna, we're done." William said it straightforwardly, devoid of any emotions, as if stating a fact. What he cared about wasn't Richard, but how when he loved Anna deeply, she was still tangled in her past. Anna being nice was just a habit. They foolishly mistook it for love. In a relationship, it's not about one person giving their all. "William, if you give me a chance, we're not done." Her words stung, but she stubbornly believed William wasn't serious. "You were the one who fell for me first." The scorching midday sun made tempers flare. Standing in the shade, William chuckled. "Anna, I don't love you anymore. Why should I give you that chance?" He didn't regret loving her, but it wasn't a reason for her entitlement. It was like a sentence had been passed. Anna visibly lost her spirit. With a slight push, she let go of his wrist. Work awaited him in the afternoon, and fetching lunch for Helen was still on his mind. "Anna, let's end it here." He punctuated their story himself. When Lily found Anna, she stood under the sun, drenched in sweat, still as a statue. Judging by the look on her face, their conversation must not have gone well. Anna looked at Lily, speaking softly like a whisper. "Lily, how can somebody just suddenly say they don't like you anymore?" No need to guess. William must have bluntly told Anna, He didn't love her anymore just a moment ago. Lily sighed and pulled Anna into the shade of a nearby tin building. Anna, when you came back to the country and Richard wanted to stay abroad, why weren't you willing to stay with him? She asked. I didn't study abroad to stay there permanently. Why should I change my plans just for a relationship? Anna thought for a moment and replied without hesitation. Were you upset at the time? Lily continued. Upset? Honestly, I can't even remember how I felt back then. Anna said, feeling confused. It was what it was. It hurt for a bit, but I got over it fast. But memories have a way of sticking with us, Lily thought to herself, and she went on. Feelings have a way of running deep. Sometimes it doesn't take much, just a little thing, to make people who've been in love for years fall out. You and Richard dated for a few years too, right? If you could break up with him over a long-distance thing, then William is no big deal. You both have your own lives anyway. Besides, from what I see, William seems to be doing just fine without you. She hadn't planned to be this blunt, but seeing Anna's state, Lily figured it was best to lay it out. Anna stayed silent for a while. Lily's words were straightforward, and sadness washed over her like a tide she couldn't resist. Anna's shoulders shook, as if she might break down at any moment. If you're really not over it, just give it a shot. But we've got less than 2 months left here, and if it doesn't work out, then so be it, Lily said softly, not wanting to see her good friend so upset. On the second day after the medical team got settled, physical exams were scheduled for the researchers. William, after finishing an experiment, couldn't avoid running into Anna. But after a night of thinking, he figured they'd been friends for years and there was no need to act like strangers just because they broke up. However, Anna was different today. She sat at the far end, helping with examinations, not sparing him a glance. When it was William's turn, he had just finished having blood drawn, still pressing a cotton ball against his arm. Open your mouth. Let me take a look, Anna said, gently holding his chin and checking his mouth and nose with a flashlight. Mucous membranes are a bit red. Drink more water to avoid dryness and irritation, she advised. William didn't ask more questions like others did, just said a quick thank you, took the health report from the table, and prepared to leave. Wait, Anna called out, handing him a thermos she'd prepared. This chrysanthemum tea is good for you, William. Take it. Thanks. With a cue behind him, William couldn't refuse. He went back to the lab, opened the thermos, and a familiar herbal scent wafted out. It wasn't chrysanthemum tea. It was motherwort with brown sugar, good for easing pain. William stood in surprise for a moment. During checkups, he sometimes felt discomfort and always kept motherwort and brown sugar at home. Anna still remembered these tiny details. He didn't know what to make of it, feeling a slight discomfort in his stomach, a weird coincidence. He thought to himself, can't let myself suffer. And he drank the tea down slowly. By evening, there was still some daylight over the desert. After cleaning the thermos, William lingered outside the medical station, crouching for half the day. Lily. He finally spotted someone familiar coming out, rushing over to call her. William, what's up? Lily asked, remembering the breakup between him and Anna and changing her tone. He handed her the thermos. This is Anna's. Could you pass it back to her for me and say thank you? How did Anna's thermos end up with William? Lily felt like it was burning her hands. She smiled, you could give it to Anna yourself. She's not gonna broadcast your relationship issues. William knew Lily thought he was avoiding Anna and felt embarrassed. I wasn't trying not to give it back. I've been standing here ages and you're the first person I've seen. Indeed, there was no one else around. Everyone else was either eating dinner or off to grab a shower. Lily nodded, but then something crossed her mind. I'll pass it on for you, but can we talk for a minute? It wasn't an unreasonable request, and there was no reason for him to refuse. They found a quiet spot and sat against a large rock. Lily broke the silence. Honestly, I thought breaking up with Anna was the right move. I've never liked that Richard guy at the hospital anyway. William didn't expect her to support him right off the bat and couldn't help but smile wryly. He took a deep breath and began, we didn't just break up because of Richard. My dream has always been about aerospace, building rockets. If I hadn't had a crush on Anna back in high school, I would have gone to an aerospace academy. Lily rested her head on her hand and listened intently. William continued, I stayed because we were dating, but she never really let go of her ex. There was a hint of helplessness and disappointment in his voice. I don't want my decisions to be influenced by someone else anymore, you know? Lily looked up at the sky. Did you know Anna studied medicine for you? William had been a quiet kid because he often felt unwell as a child. His parents rarely let him out. Then he met Anna, the girl next door. She would bring back little treasures from outside for him. Sometimes it was a hand-made flower crown, other times a jar of fleeting fireflies, or a pile of cards she bragged about winning for him. In high school, some bully was hassling William. She was pretty, with fair skin, and the bully couldn't walk away. He insisted William become his girlfriend. One night, Anna had to stay late at school to write a reflection because of some fight. Meanwhile, William left the school alone, and a thug, noticing he was by himself, tried to drag him into an alley to beat him up. Luckily, there were teachers patrolling nearby. Just as the thug managed to grab the boy, he got caught red-handed by the teachers. There wasn't any real harm done, so the thug only spent a few days locked up. William, however, was so scared that he got a high fever for 2 days and ended up in the hospital. When Anna saw William again, he had that same sickly look he had as a kid. So she went and beat up that thug. She hurt her leg, and the thug got his punishment for his assault. Everything Lily and William talked about was true. But how did this have anything to do with Anna studying medicine? William just couldn't understand. Before Anna became the department head, at a department dinner, the former head asked why we all wanted to be doctors. You know how Anna is, always so serious. In a conversation like that, she'd usually give the to save lives reason. Lily remembered that dinner, saying, but maybe she had too much that day, and out of the blue, she said it was because she grew up with someone who wasn't healthy. The only person Anna grew up with was William. That's why after starting high school, Anna changed her approach to her studies. Everything matched up. The nights on the desert plains were very long, and the moon was full, with stars sprinkled in the sky. But the temperature difference between day and night was huge, making it bone-chillingly cold outside at night. Even though William had learned why Anna pursued medicine from Lily, he didn't feel happy about it, nor could he describe how he felt. He got back late and forgot to grab his coat from the lab, so he had to jog back. Not far from the dorms, someone tossed a coat over him. What are you doing out here in the cold without a coat? William poked his head out to see, and sure enough it was Anna, who had been missing all afternoon. The cold wind had left her face a little red. Have you been waiting for me? The medical section's dorms were quite a distance away. Anna wouldn't be out freezing for no reason. Anna rubbed her nose, saying, I was just wandering around. Your dorm lights were off, so I checked near the crossroads. The coat was warm, and William wrapped it around himself tightly and said suddenly, Come to my dorm. I'll pour you some hot water. Hearing this, a light sparkled in Anna's eyes. He was making an invitation. It was the first time since seeing William that she spoke to him gently. Inside, William turned on the heater, then poured hot water from a thermos for Anna. There wasn't much in the room aside from a lot of professional books. William's passion for aerospace engineering was something Anna didn't expect. After they warmed up, William finally spoke. Anna, do you like your job now? The warmth of the cup seemed to seep into her heart. Anna looked at him softly. I do. Working in medicine is tough, but helping patients, it's very meaningful. Hearing this, William felt relieved. He didn't want Anna choosing a career she didn't love just because of him, like he once did. He lowered his head, his fingers gently rubbing the edge of the cup. Lily told me you studied medicine because of me, and honestly, I was surprised. Anna hadn't known about this, and she didn't want William feeling pressured due to misunderstandings. That was a long time ago. Don't let Lily's words bother you. Everyone makes their own choices, and ultimately, it's their business. Anna, honestly, I want to say you're incredible in your field. I am passionate about aerospace development and have my obligations. You staying here at the research base is pointless. William sipped his hot water and spoke gently. Anna's achievements in medicine were far greater than his, becoming a department head at such a young age. She shouldn't be held back by trivial romantic matters. William, in many ways, understood Anna better than she did. Back then, didn't she choose to go abroad to learn foreign medical techniques and return to contribute to the nation? In some respects, William and Anna were quite alike. The room fell into a brief silence, with only the low hum of the heater and the occasional whistle of wind outside. Anna felt like the warmth was slipping away again. She said, "William, I support your passion for aerospace, and it won't affect our relationship." William's gaze finally landed on Anna. He gently shook his head, looking at her seriously. She felt a chill run down her spine at his stare. Her heart was uneasy, with a nagging feeling that if she let William finish what he was going to say, they could never go back. "I admit it. I didn't realize my feelings before. I messed up badly. Can you give me another chance? I don't have feelings for Richard anymore. I was maybe just guilty, unable to respond to his feelings." Anna blurted before William could speak, almost tripping over her words, her last words almost a plea. But William didn't give her what she was hoping for. He said, "Anna, you're just not willing to let it go. Not willing to let it go." William spoke so softly. His words were almost carried away by the biting night wind. Yet to Anna they were thunderously clear. Those simple words stripped away Anna's self-deception, bleedingly clear before William. In that moment, Anna's heart felt like it dropped into an ice cavern. Yeah, she was just self-deceiving. She'd always known. Her kindness to Richard was out of unwillingness. She chased William to the barren desert, drawn by that same feeling. But she couldn't admit it. Anna's face was ashen, yet she still tried to justify herself. "It's not like that, William, But before she could say more, William interrupted. "Anna, it doesn't make any difference." William already knew what she wanted to say. "Anna, you're just used to having me orbit around you. Suddenly, you lost that and you can't handle it. Honestly, you don't love Richard or me. You just love yourself." William looked straight at her, making Anna's behavior in the relationship seem even worse. Anna practically dashed away in embarrassment. William watched her hurried silhouette and felt tired. Anna was always composed, and she's not likely to bother him again. William's words kept Anna awake all night. It wasn't until dawn that she finally dozed off. But her sleep was restless. She dreamt of William in a wedding suit standing with his back to her. Just as she was about to reach out, he dissolved into a pile of sand, blending into an endless desert. Awakening abruptly, she found herself drenched in cold sweat. Lily walked in, tossing a stack of envelopes onto Anna's desk. "Hey, Richard somehow found out you were here. Since he couldn't reach you, he wrote these letters. I thought there might be something urgent, so I brought them." Without even a glance, Anna dumped the thick stack into the trash. "I have nothing to do with Richard. Don't bother telling me about him again." Lily's mouth dropped wide open. She teased, "The sun must be rising in the west. You used to be so anxious about any news of Richard." Anna shot Lily a cold stare. "I don't want to talk about the past or hear about Richard anymore." After saying that, Anna quickly left the dorm. She remembered William had the habit of eating breakfast. She hastily headed to the cafeteria. Sure enough, when she arrived, William was there, eating and going over some documents. Anna was about to approach him with her meal when someone else sat beside William first. Her grip tightened on her tray involuntarily. It was Helen, William's colleague. From the start, Anna didn't like her. Maybe it was that gut feeling around a potential rival. Anna couldn't hear what they talked about, but Helen's words made William laugh. They leaned close, heads nearly touching. The sight was a stab to Anna. She wanted to step in, but she had no right, as his ex. But William had already moved on. Her heart ached, like being submerged underwater, almost drowning before being saved. Finally, she realized how painful it must have been for him to watch her run to Richard back then. Anna left quickly, fearing she'd lose control of her emotions if she stayed. On her way out, she ran into a teacher who seemed curious, recognizing Anna as one of the few young doctors willing to work in such a difficult place. The teacher sat down with Helen and William. Helen also noticed Anna leaving in a hurry. "William, that Anna seems to have feelings for you," Helen mentioned. William sighed. He didn't want to hide it any longer, especially not with Anna following him to this place. Anna was my girlfriend before, but we've broken up. Helen and the teacher were surprised. I gave up research to stay in City A for her. Giving up a career for someone was foolish. Luckily, it's not too late to start over. Walking aimlessly back to the medical station, Anna replayed the scene with William and Helen in her mind, feeling a mix of emotions. She was back at her desk, trying to organize her day when someone walked in, much earlier than Lily or her other colleagues would arrive. Surprised, she looked up to see Helen's assessing gaze. "What's up?" This woman had just been chatting with William in the cafeteria. No way was she here for a checkup. Helen, seeing Anna's lost expression, took a seat. "William told me about your past. You're his ex." The term ex stung Anna, but she forced a smile, keeping her composure. "Just here to confirm that?" "Not exactly," Helen replied, glancing at the clock. "Cafeteria time's almost over. Want to check out our lab? To see where William works." Even though it seemed random, the curiosity to see William again won over any hesitation. "Sure," Anna agreed. Helen took Anna to the glass walls outside the lab. It was a common viewing spot for VIPs, meant to minimize disruption to the researchers. Due to confidentiality, Anna couldn't enter directly. Inside, William had already finished breakfast and was focused on some chemicals. He was monitoring the changes in an experimental coating. Anna spotted William right away. From her side of the glass, she watched him engrossed in his work, untouched by the outside world. He was working on a new aerospace coating, not his expertise, but he was challenging himself to grow. It was a critical time for him. Helen was explaining things on the side. Inside, William was checking the data over and over again. If something was off, he'd glance at the simulator. He had no clue what was going on outside. But even if he knew Anna was out there watching his every move, it wouldn't have thrown him off his focused work mode. Anna had never seen William like this before. She couldn't help but watch for a while before turning to Helen and asking, "So, what's the reason brought me here?" "Anna, you're smart. You should know what I'm getting at." Helen's gaze met hers, firm in tone. "Anna, I know you still have feelings for Senior Sue, but right now he needs to focus. Your presence throws off his rhythm. What he wants is to do research peacefully in the lab." Helen's aim wasn't anything else, but to advise her from a woman's perspective to let go of personal feelings and move on. Ever since Anna arrived at the base, William seemed less happy, some things weighing on his mind. Out of personal reasons, she wanted to help William with his troubles. Anna swallowed her bitterness. She could tell Helen wasn't speaking just out of kindness, but what she said was true. She calmed herself. "Mister, thank you for showing me around today, but whatever's between William and me, he'll figure it out on his own." In the days that followed, Anna barely saw William. Helen's words had left a mark inside Anna. She didn't try to corner him, only occasionally sneaking a peek at him through the lab's glass when no one was around. But William never looked up from his work. Maybe William noticed Anna's change, but he simply didn't care. The lab was busy lately, and he couldn't spare the attention. After not seeing William for days, she found out their research group was about to undergo its first full simulation inspection. From William's tireless effort day and night, Anna could sense the significance of the experiment to them. "You keep a close eye on the launch pad. I'll monitor things on the end." With limited personnel allowed at the actual site, Helen had to place William on standby at the simulator launch pad waiting for updates. Whether the research went smoothly depended on the actual launch situation. Standing before the screen at the launch pad, William didn't move, eyes locked on the screen. The time started counting down. 3, 2, 1. The simulated aircraft soared skyward. "Yes." The fellow researcher stood up, about to high-five William. But then a loud boom echoed from the distant sky. The simulated aircraft on their screen suddenly exploded. Helen's voice came over the pager, calm as if she expected it. The aircraft disintegrated mid-air, simulation unsuccessful. "This experiment's a failure." What happened? Was it a fuel issue? Seems more like an outer casing issue. If it was fuel, it would have exploded right on takeoff. The group members discussed quietly the reasons for the failure. William stood quietly. Words couldn't describe what he felt. It was his part that had problems. Anna found William by the sand at the edge of the barracks. Her colleagues mentioned after the day's failed experiment, they hadn't seen William again. Spotting him from afar, William was hunched on the ground with his head buried in his arms. Whenever he did badly on exams or got scolded by his parents, William would find a spot to hide away and cry it out, slowly processing his emotions. Sensing someone nearby, William slowly looked up, eyes a bit red. Upon seeing Anna, he turned away, not wanting her to see him like this. Anna took off her coat and draped it over William, speaking gently with concern. It's not just your fault the experiment failed. No one blames you. Crying is okay. It's good to let it out. No, it was my section that had issues. I just need some time to sort through my feelings. At the launch pad, William clearly saw the aircraft's outer casing had the problem. Even after countless simulations, it still failed, compounded by the fact this was a team effort. William felt awful. Just cry, don't hold it in, no one else is here. I won't say a word. Anna gently supported his head, whispering softly. For a moment, the wall between them vanished, returning to how they used to get along. The red of the sunset gradually faded, revealing a gray shade. Night and day on the desert ridge swiftly changed. It seemed like Anna would always patiently be there for him. William closed his eyes, letting her softly pat his back. They looked just like when they were kids, snuggling into Anna's warmth for a bit of tranquility until the breeze grew chilly. William finally lifted his head, a bit embarrassed. Anna, thank you. You never need to thank me. Anna smiled as always. The sun rose as usual, bathing the horizon in gentle orange-red hues, adding a bit of warmth to the cold desert morning. William slowly got out of bed, his eyes puffy from last night's tears. He gently applied a warm towel to his eyelids, trying to ease the swelling. Breakfast hadn't begun serving yet, so he fixed himself some oatmeal for his stomach, then grabbed the jacket Anna lent him from the rack and stepped out. Offhandedly, he also found 2 apples and stuffed them in his pockets. After washing and drying the jacket by the heater overnight, it now had only a slight dampness. He made his way around the research group's barracks, heading toward the iron building closer to the med bay, and knocked on a particular door. Who's there? Lily rubbed her sleepy eyes as she opened the door. The cold air outside made her take a step back. Oh, it's you. Are you looking for Anna? She went for a run. Oh, she's back now. Before she could finish, Anna appeared in the doorway, blocking William's view. William, what are you doing here? Looking for me? Her excitement was hard to hide. William handed back her coat and pulled out 2 apples from his coat. Thank you for lending me your coat yesterday. I washed it for you, and these apples are a small token of my gratitude. With shortages at the research base, these apples were quite rare. You don't need to be so formal with me. We did this all the time when we were kids. Anna took the apples, feeling delighted inside. When they were younger, William was often forgetful and didn't bring a coat when it was cold, and Anna would lend him hers, preventing him from getting even sicker. That's different, William replied. Seriously, thanks. If you ever need something at the base, feel free to ask me. What happened yesterday had brought them closer. William's words sent a warm feeling through Anna's heart. She nodded with a soft smile. Okay, I won't be shy about it. They stood at the doorway, the atmosphere a bit awkward. Lily watched them and couldn't help but yawn, rubbing her eyes again. You'll keep chatting. I'm going back to catch some more sleep. Save me an apple, Anna. With that, she turned and went back inside, closing the door behind her to keep the wind out. Seeing this, Anna felt a bit guilty. It's quite cold outside, and Lily wants to sleep. It's not convenient to let you in. William shook his head. I was heading out anyway. Got to return to the lab for a debrief today. Experiments failing was common, but he always faced them positively. No wonder she liked him. Seeing him get back on track so quickly made Anna happy for him. After watching William walk away, she returned inside. His coat still held his scent. Anna carefully put it away in her closet, then sat on her bed and smiled at the apples. Hearing movement next to her, Lily sat up. So, You think you've got a shot at this romance thing now? At the mention, Anna stopped smiling, a bit self-aware. Just being friends and getting along is good enough now. Anything else, one step at a time, I guess. Just like the many times she and William had tried and failed at their experiments. Chances were slim, but they always tried. Days went by. After each failed experiment, the group would jump back into new research. The failures started to fade from William's mind as he got busy, with no time to spare for anything outside of work. There's a break tomorrow. Our teacher wants us to go to town. She's treating us to dinner. Looks like we're being forced to take a break, Helen said, handing William an analysis report. Normally, they had one day off a week, but she and William were known for working even on their days off. In the past 2 months, they'd only taken 4 days of rest altogether. Once the teacher noticed this, she gave them an earful and insisted they learn to balance work and rest. Going to the city sounds good. Better signal there, too. I can catch up with family without the connection dropping every few minutes, William said, looking through the report. In the 2 months there, he'd mostly just sent texts to his parents. Calls or video chats were out of the question. With poor signal and frequent disconnections being the norm, the research base was a different world compared to the nearby hospital. The rugged dirt roads to town took over 2 hours by car. William and Helen got up early to reach town in time for lunch. Order whatever you want. Get plenty. The base doesn't serve this good stuff, their teacher said with a warm smile, handing them the menu. William wasn't picky, so he let Helen pick 2 dishes while he dove into eating. After 2 months, he felt like he'd almost forgotten how good food tasted. Once they were full, the teacher had other commitments and left them to roam around. William asked Helen to take him to a mall. Winter was coming, and the base's temperatures were no joke. He needed to buy some warm clothes. I'll take this one, and this one too, William said, pointing out some clothes to be wrapped up. While walking inside the mall, he spotted Anna standing outside a women's clothing store. She was holding several bags, and William was surprised that her usually laid-back self had purchased so much. Sensing his gaze, Anna turned around and saw him. She first smiled at William, but her expression stiffened seeing Helen by his side. William worked like crazy and rarely took breaks. After several failed attempts to invite him out, Anna decided to take it upon herself to buy him some essentials. Now she found herself bumping into the 2 of them. Fancy running into you here, Anna, Helen greeted first. Regaining her composure, Anna nodded back. What a coincidence. Shopping as well? My junior here wanted some winter clothes, so I tagged along. You've got quite a haul yourself, Anna. Anna stayed silent. Everything she had bought was meant for William. Is this lady shopping for her boyfriend's clothes? You've picked some great stuff, the store clerk chimed in, eager to make a sale. With her keen eye and our quality, her boyfriend's a lucky man. Awkwardness settled in instantly. Where would Anna get a boyfriend from right now? Helen didn't need to ask to know what was in those bags meant for William. She glanced over at William. His expression was unchanged. I'm going into the mall. You 2 talk amongst yourselves, Helen said, leaving them to chat. William glanced at the shopping bags, surprise flickering in his eyes, but he didn't say much. He hadn't heard about Anna having a boyfriend. Helen chuckled lightly with a hint of playfulness. Her eyes darted between Anna and those bags, teasingly wondering if Anna's boyfriend would even like the gifts. Anna caught her drift, knowing Helen hinted at her putting in extra effort for nothing. She pursed her lips and replied, No need to worry, Lily. Didn't it take some effort to get William out here? Well, for fellow alums, a meal doesn't really need an invite, right? Helen didn't bother to mention William was out because of their teacher. On the other side of the mall, William was oblivious to the tension between Anna and Helen. He wandered around the first floor, not spotting anything that caught his eye. As he was about to head upstairs, a shop owner who he'd just seen ran up to him. Hey, looking for something warm? I've got some great jackets here. The research teams wear this stuff. They're super warm. Let me take a look. William had a few good jackets but left them at his parents'. Seeing the chance for a sale, the shop owner was eager. He dragged out a box of colorful jackets and picked the ones William wanted. Check these out. Top quality. Buy 2 now and I'll give you a major discount. William felt the fabric. The owner was right. These would be perfect for chilly nights at the base. I only need one, he thought, but then an idea popped up. He picked a large size. Could you wrap this up for me? 20 minutes later, William walked out with a bag, where Helen and Anna were still standing. Let me help with that. Helen, who had waited for quite some time, naturally took the bag. Anna wanted to offer help but had her hands full, just watching. William didn't refuse Helen's gesture. He planned to call his parents, so he couldn't carry much. I'll make a quick call to my folks before heading back. Outside, William found a bench, sat down, and made a video call. With perfect reception, his mother's smiling face appeared. William, how's life at the research base? Any trouble with the experiments? Their conversation was pretty typical. William responded with a warm smile and a few updates. He missed home after being away for a couple of months. Anna and Helen stood nearby, not too far from William's comforting chat with his parents. It was familiar yet distant for Anna, as she no longer felt welcome to join in. Anna hasn't contacted you, right? She came looking for you, and I told her to leave. William's father beamed proudly on screen. She's cut off even her own parents, and they're worried sick. William didn't know Anna had gone to his parents. He gave an awkward smile and changed the subject to avoid worrying them about Anna being at the base. After the call, it was getting late, and William planned on heading back to the base. On the way, William had something to say but stopped himself. Helen noticed and walked aside to give them space. William slowed his pace, looked up at the sky. Why haven't you contacted your family? Anna was caught off guard by the topic. It's not that I didn't. My mom just doesn't want to talk. She sighed, explaining, the month after you left, she'd call me only to argue. I was feeling down, so I stopped reaching out. She doesn't know I'm here at the base looking for you. It was typical Anna, self-centered, not considering others. She'd expect others to communicate, yet she'd stay mum about her own issues, causing more misunderstandings. William sighed. Give your mom a call sometime. They're really worried. Some issues can't be solved by running away. Running away doesn't solve problems. Anna echoed, falling behind a few steps, her voice fading into the air. When the three of them returned to the base, it was already late. William said goodbye and went to his dorm to drop things off. Then, Anna and Helen parted ways. Lily was waiting for Anna when she got back and wasted no time venting, her lip in a pout. Anna, if you don't want anything with Richard, could you please tell him to give up? She rummaged under her bed, pulling out a box of neatly arranged letters, all from Richard but addressed to her. Look at these. She fumed. When he couldn't reach you, he started writing to me. He talks about you 9 times out of 10. Now the med team thinks I have a super clingy boyfriend. Anna focused on sorting out the stuff she bought for William, barely looking up. I've turned him down flat, she retorted. Don't you remember that dinner we had with William? I made it clear that day. I'm not interested in him like that. On that day, William went to get some meds because they ran out. Richard had grabbed Anna by her arm, fueled by alcohol, recounting his time abroad, all to confess his lingering feelings for her. She thought Richard seemed like a stranger since she was about to marry someone else. Yet there he was, bringing up the past. How did she respond? Pretty harshly, she recalled, making him bolt away, pale as a ghost. She thought he was just drunk, speaking nonsense, so she didn't dwell on it. I'll talk to the department about moving Richard from the project once we're back. Anna wasn't keen on getting entangled with Richard and tried to comfort Lily with this promise. Anna grabbed a large bag and packed up her stuff, getting ready to head out. Where are you off to now? Lily asked, noticing her actions. I bought something for William, so I'm dropping it off. Fine, she deserved the extra question. Half of the stuff she brought back was cleared out, and Lily realized as she watched Anna's back, hey, what the heck? You're ditching friends for romance. Huh? I thought you bought that for me. The sky was getting darker, clouds thickening as a storm seemed to be brewing. Anna knocked on William's door just before the last bit of light faded. Footsteps approached from inside. When the door opened, a sweet aroma mixed with warm air came out. It smelled like something was cooking. William seemed unsurprised by her visit. He stepped aside. "Come on in, you're just in time. The stuff just got done baking, you can eat now." A cold wind started to push into the house, but Anna didn't feel the chill. Her beloved man was waiting for her. Thinking about their past, how no matter how late she'd get home from work, William would have a light on and a warm meal waiting. She set the bag down as she entered, and the warmth greeted her, making her smile without even thinking. Beside the small dining table was a rough clay stove, a few sweet potatoes of different shapes on an iron plate on top. William, unaware of her thoughts, covered the fire in the stove with sand at the entrance, then turned to Anna. "Came back late. The cafeteria stopped serving. Luckily, the cafeteria lady gave me some sweet potatoes. I figured by the time they were baked, you'd probably be here." "How did you know I'd come?" Anna asked, smiling as she found a spot to sit. Her gentle smile almost made William lose focus. Avoiding her gaze, he pointed to the bag by the door. "Isn't all that stuff you bought today for me?" They'd known each other since they were kids. Was there anything Anna could do that he wouldn't figure out? When he ran into her at the women's clothing store today, he just knew it was for him. He's a guy of principle. If people bring him gifts, he'll reciprocate with a meal. The surprised look spread across her face. "I thought you wouldn't accept it." "Why not accept it?" William wrapped a sweet potato in some paper for Anna. Accepting gifts between friends is normal, right? In terms of material things, he wasn't shy, especially since Anna had way more money and buying stuff wouldn't break the bank for her. Besides, hadn't he already made her sweet potatoes as payback? The word friends grounded Anna, reminding her of William's firm stance. Considering their current relationship, she found it slightly amusing, yet secretly relieved that just sitting and chatting like this was enough for her. Breaking open the sweet potato, the sweet scent and tender flesh filled her mouth, triggering familiar memories as Anna burst out laughing. "Do you remember what we did the night before our engagement?" William could never forget. It was one of the most embarrassing times of his life. With a mouthful of sweet potato, William mumbled, "You're talking about us getting a hankering for mushroom soup at night, then both ending up in the hospital with food poisoning, and still putting on the engagement party the next day, right?" Correction, the craving was yours, not mine. Back then, one of Anna's co-workers sent over mushrooms from Yunnan. After the exhausting days of preparing for the engagement party, William suggested making mushroom soup when he was hungry at night. Despite knowing the potential danger of mushrooms, with Dr. Anna there, he figured nothing could go wrong and attempted making it for the first time. The result was him and Anna in the hospital the night before their engagement due to food poisoning. To avoid embarrassment, they toughened it out and completed the engagement party without letting their parents know a thing. Oh, what a confidence killer. My complexion at the engagement party. Not even makeup could hide it. My specially ordered dress was wasted, William retorted. No, you still looked great that day. Anna's thoughts drifted. William in a white suit was indeed handsome. She almost couldn't resist dragging him to the bureau for a marriage license. The warmth of the room turned her cheeks slightly pink, her throat moving subtly. "William, if you're willing, there's still a chance for us." Anna, hoping for too much only leads to disappointment. His expression slowly became serious, his sincere gaze piercing through her heart. "Right now, all I want is to focus on my research and contribute to aerospace. Romance and love aren't on my mind anymore." As his words sank in, Anna's eyes dimmed a little, but she kept her smile firm. "I misspoke. Forget it." William was set in his ways. In whatever he did, he'd make sure it's done to the fullest. Love was no exception, nor was its absence. She thought maybe the recent normalcy with him had blurred her judgment, tricking her into thinking William still had feelings for her. The sweet potato in her hand had gone cold, bitter when she took another bite. Their research had unexpectedly made great strides. The team under their professor entered an intense work mode. William was immersed in continuous calculations and simulations, dealing with sophisticated equipment, and recording detailed notes on new material applications, sometimes filling up 2 pages in a single day. Initially pulling late nights, within a week, he was bedding down in the lab, managing just 4 or 5 hours of sleep. As soon as his eyes opened, he rolled up his sleeves and started verifying research. Helen had it even tougher. juggling meetings with the leadership team while rechecking daily data. Some were so overworked they passed out and were sent to the medical department, four in hand while still writing reports. Anna and her team could do little with this dedicated group, resorting to strict measures. Adding some sleep-inducing meds to the daily prescriptions finally calmed the medical staff. With the lab sealed, Anna couldn't see William and could only catch glimpses of comings and goings during her commute, occasionally cornering Helen after she dealt with the leaders for updates on William. After eating, I didn't sleep much, but I still felt pretty energetic. Helen showed up with huge dark circles under her eyes and, as usual, answered Anna's question before leaving with 2 bottles of glucose. She looked like a machine just punching the clock every day. Lily couldn't help but marvel at this. No wonder they say those in science are all a bit crazy. Working like that is worth 10 of me during thesis writing. Even though she was joking, deep down she had a lot of respect for these researchers. After the banter, she began gossiping. Do you think Helen and William, having been together in the same lab for so long, will end up together next time we see them? A report was tossed toward her head, but she caught it with ease, expecting it. If you're so bored, go take up some surgeries, Anna warned quietly, grabbing something random to throw. Oh please, I don't want to go back and have Richard bugging me with questions about how you're doing. Lily laughed, remembering something as she took out a new letter from her pocket that she had just received from Richard. It was still unopened. Usually she'd have opened, read, and tossed it in the trash by now, which was her way of being polite. But as she glanced at the contents, she suddenly stood up, her mouth wide open. Richard is going back abroad. Anna merely glanced up and nodded, picking up the documents on her desk. His stuff isn't my concern. I'm off to check on the wards. Let me know if you need anything. Sure, with him gone, you're freer to focus on getting William for yourself. Lily gave her a shoulder pat in encouragement. Anna felt uncomfortable hearing her friend's assumptions but didn't bother to correct her again. Let's go and see the patients, Anna said, not wanting to dwell on it. Lily didn't stay seated and decided to follow her. She read the rest of the letter and then tossed it before catching up with Anna. Out in this desert area, the medical facilities weren't as good as elsewhere. Researchers often came by to pick up meds, and fainting from overwork or getting the flu wasn't uncommon, but they'd still choose to work through it. They truly dedicated their lives to science. Anna felt conflicted, worried about William's health holding up. Now she could still care for him here, but what about in the future? Pushing the thought aside, she continued her work. Several days went by quietly, allowing Anna to breathe easier before asking Helen about William. He's okay, probably just tired and dealing with some low blood sugar. I'll grab 2 extra bags today, Helen said without much small talk. It was a crucial time in their experiment, and every researcher was on edge. Anna refrained from commenting much given the circumstances and provided more than requested. She also gave Helen some brown sugar ginger tea for William, saying it would help with his qi deficiency from staying up late. She urged her to contact for any issues and not to overexert. All Anna could do was watch Helen leave with worry, unable to be beside William herself. Her concerns weren't unfounded. The calm didn't last long. When told William had fainted and was sent to the temporary ward, she rushed there without even capping her tea, hurriedly putting on her lab coat. He's fine, just overworked and needs rest. Lily had already checked on him and given some meds. Seeing Anna arrive, she knowingly moved aside to flip through the medical records. Still not reassured, Anna approached William to check his pulse herself. Only when she confirmed it was just exhaustion did she feel relieved. After all, she had cared for him since he was little. Seeing William pale and in that state filled Anna with regret. She had promised from the day she began studying medicine that she wouldn't let William be weak or sick, yet she hadn't kept that promise. She hadn't realized her true feelings in time to stay with him. Suddenly, a knock sounded at the door. Sorry to interrupt, Helen said while yawning, leaning against the doorway. William mentioned if he didn't make it back this afternoon, I should bring these materials over so he could review them tonight. Helen entered with a stack of thick research papers. Anna instinctively refused, stepping in front of the bed. He's overworked and needs rest. If you care, you should refuse for him. "Bring them over," came William's hoarse voice as he opened his eyes. He immediately noticed the documents in Helen's hand and continued, "I'm fine. I'll look at them in a bit. Thanks for bringing them, senior sister." Seeing William hooked up to N4 and still eager to work, Anna instinctively disapproved. But faced with William's determined gaze despite his weakness, any protest died in her throat. It became clear why Helen agreed to fetch them. They were similar in this regard. "I'll go see if there's any kanji at the cafeteria. Make sure to eat something if you're working," Anna advised, instructing the nurse on a few things before leaving. Quickly returning with the kanji, Anna saw Helen sitting next to William, going over data. The sunlight streaming in made the otherwise bland room feel a bit more homely. Lily's earlier teasing echoed in Anna's mind, whether Helen and William might end up together after all this time. She tried to dismiss the uneasy thought, but it lingered. "Don't just stand there. William isn't doing great. Let him eat something," Helen called out, seeing Anna at the door, and gestured for her to come in. She adeptly set up a little table, opened the food container, and took care of everything. "Senior sister, take a break. I'm not disabled. I can handle myself." William chuckled at Helen's attentiveness. After eating the kanji, William felt warmth spread through his stomach, making him feel a lot better. "About this experiment, I made another version of the flight simulator shell. The data's super accurate. Want to check it out first, sis?" "Sure, you go ahead and eat. I'm watching." Seeing the two of them chat so happily, Anna felt a block in her chest. But even if she wanted to chime in, she couldn't. It's their domain, their academic stuff. She watched quietly and began to regret not choosing the same major as William back then. At that moment, she seemed to understand what William felt standing behind her watching her talk with Richard. Knowing it's work-related, he couldn't interrupt, but it made him feel anxious inside. William ate most of the porridge in his lunchbox but couldn't finish it. Anna came up to clean up for him, giving him a chance to finally talk to her. "Anna, it's good you're here, keeping everything in check. Otherwise, I'd worry about keeping up with the schedule." After waiting a long time, all she got was William's business-like reply. Felt like a heavy stone was crushing her chest, painfully. "Don't worry. If anything comes up, just let me know." Anna sighed inwardly. It's okay, there's still time. He could make it up to her. At night, Helen went back to the lab. She hadn't completed her tasks for the day. William, on the other hand, was forced by Anna to stay in the hospital room because of his health. This gave Anna a chance to shine. Even as a department head, she kept bustling around William's hospital room, refilling water one moment, checking the for the next, then doing some disinfecting. As long as she was around William, she couldn't sit still. "Anna." William saw all her fussing and finally sighed. "There's nothing here that needs your attention. Go look after the other patients." What he didn't say was that having someone bustling around was quite distracting for his already tired mind. It made him feel dizzy, interrupting him from reading his reports. Anna understood his meaning. After a few glances, she just said awkwardly, "I'll go then, you get some rest." After wrapping up with her patients and another round of chaos, Anna started reflecting. She grew up with William, and they had some similar habits, like being completely absorbed when working seriously. Back then, whenever Anna was working in the study, William had the decency not to go in, just to avoid disrupting her flow. Now, she broke her principles as a doctor, silently supporting William to finish work in the hospital room. It was all so ordinary before.